All right, now Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, who earlier had resisted calls for a renewed state of emergency, has said that his government is currently considering a request from Tokyo and adjoining prefectures to declare a state of emergency in view of the rising number of coronavirus infections. During a press briefing earlier in the day, Suga said that discussions are currently underway for a state of emergency as cases continue to rise in Tokyo and other metropolitan areas. He further said that Japan will continue to prepare to host the Olympics despite the ongoing crisis. In a statement, Yoshihide Suga also said that Japan is likely to start its mass vaccination drive sometime by February after a thorough examination of the safety and the efficacy of the vaccine. The medical workers and also the elderly population will be given top priority.
The measures to prevent from infection from spreading is vaccine. In February, the pharmaceutical companies' clinical data was going to be put together. That was the original estimate. To the U.S. companies, we made a strong request. So the process was expedited and data will be put together within January. And safety and efficacy will be reviewed. And once vaccines are approved, as soon as possible, or by the end of February, we want to start the preparation so that the vaccination can be started. So as a government, we are making a preparation. Medical professionals and elderly people are the first in line, and also those who are working for the facilities for elderly people. Those will be first to be vaccinated.
Now, the Tokyo governor, along with the governors of 3 other prefectures, has called on the Japanese government to declare a state of emergency to combat the number of infections. The request came after the country's recorded over 4,000 cases last week, and public health systems in large metropolitan areas were stretched to the brink of collapse. Meanwhile, officials close to Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga have said that the government is eager to prioritize the planned revision to the special measures for tackling the pandemic. The law revision, which the government hopes to enact by the end of the month, is likely to be aimed at introducing penalties on businesses that fail to follow the government orders to shorten operating hours. Now, since the beginning of the 3rd wave of the pandemic in the country, the government has been extremely cautious about declaring a state of emergency, as it would bring all social and economic activities to a halt. The government hopes to have a revised law enacted by the end of this month, even as Tokyo has reported a record number of 816 new COVID-19 cases as of Sunday. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what's unfolding in Japan, we're joined in by our correspondent Grace Lee, who's joining us live from Tokyo. Grace, thank you very much indeed for joining us in this broadcast. And let me begin by asking you this. How bad is the situation really in Japan? Because in the first wave of the pandemic, Japan seems to have got off pretty lightly. But off late in the winter, Japan has been witnessing a sharp spike in the number of cases, including of the new mutant variants that have been reported in the United Kingdom and in South Africa as well.
Yeah, this is Japan's 3rd wave, and by far the worst we've seen so far. And we heard a little bit about the situation from Tokyo's governor when she made that plea to Japan's prime minister to put in a state of emergency, saying that the situation in Tokyo is much too dire, and the fact that people simply aren't listening to her requests at the moment. For now, she has asked businesses to shut down at 10 p.m. It seems most businesses are still carrying on beyond those hours, and despite her pleas to the public to stay indoors during the holidays, we did see a lot of people going out and celebrating with their friends in groups larger than 6 throughout the city. So that's kind of what's been driving those numbers up. They're hoping that by putting in this state of emergency, there would be more legal backing to the governor's request and a bit more of an emphasis on people to heed that request.
Absolutely, indeed. So, and also Japan has said that it will be restarting its vaccination drive sometime in the month of February. What updates do we have on that front?
Well, the Prime Minister didn't actually make that quite clear. He said he's hoping that the vaccination rollout will come by the end of February, and he said he would be one of the first to receive the vaccination to prove to the public that it is indeed safe. Japan is going through its own safety checks and measures at the moment for international vaccines, and they are running into some snags in terms of capacity, in terms of the actual kind of rollout procedures. So that's all the stuff that they're trying to get out of the way before making sure that the public can line up to get their vaccinations. Priority will be given to those who are elderly and those who have previous health conditions. So that's the plan for now. They say that people can start by making appointments with their local authorities to get the vaccinations done.
Absolutely. And lastly, before we let you go, Grace, Tokyo is to host the Summer Olympics sometime later this year. Preparations are underway, but how have those preparations been impacted because of this surge in the number of infections that's been witnessed?
Well, the Prime Minister also spoke about the Olympics today, saying that he hopes that the Olympics will be a kind of a beacon of hope for those and proof that humanity can beat COVID-19. And so far, what we've seen is that the only impact that it's having on the Olympics so far is that the price is going up quite significantly. There will be more measures to contain the virus. Olympic officials have also spoken about potentially vaccinating people, athletes, and visitors to Japan before they get here, but that's something that's still being discussed. It will be a bit of a different Olympics. There will be more social distancing measures, fewer people involved, and of course all the dressings of COVID-19. They are trying to make it as safe as possible, but at the same time there is a lot of skepticism from the international community about hosting the Olympics when we are seeing that new variant from the UK. We are seeing countries going back into lockdown at the moment. There is a lot of criticism for the Japanese government and from the Olympic Committee for not having a plan B at this time.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Grace Lee, for joining us from Tokyo and getting us all those insights there.